You drop your keys on the kitchen counter at 6:42 p.m. on a rainy Tuesday. Your shoes are soaked through and your back aches from 9 hours in an office chair. Your bank app shows a single digit before the decimal point as you sit down. You open your laptop to move $40 into a high-yield savings account. That transfer brings your total liquid net worth to exactly $10,000. You sit back in your quiet apartment as the refrigerator hums softly in the corner. For the first time in your life, you are not living paycheck to paycheck. You have finally crossed the invisible line of your first $10,000. At $10,000, the world does not treat you any differently at all. But inside, your nervous system finally relaxes a crucial fraction of an inch. You still drive a 10-year-old sedan with a tiny dent near the rear bumper. You still check menu prices before ordering dinner at your local restaurant. But when your check engine light flickers on Thursday, your stomach doesn't twist. You don't have to choose between fixing your car and paying rent next week. You have built a cushion of breathing room out of quiet daily discipline. Most people stop here because $10,000 feels like a major summit. Temptation creeps in every time you walk past a dealership or scroll online. But you hold the line and keep sending every extra dollar into investments. 3 years pass in obscurity while you silently stack capital every pay period. On a Sunday morning, your total balance line finally reads over $100,000. Crossing $100,000 changes the fundamental math of your life forever. At $10,000, your money was just sitting there as a passive emergency shield. At $100,000, your money becomes an active worker alongside you every day. At a 7% return, your capital generates over $7,000 annually. That is more than $500 every single month flowing directly into your compound engine. Your money is now making more than you used to save in an entire year. Your daily life looks identical on the surface, but inside your head everything has shifted. You walk into your manager's office for your annual review with an unshakable calm. You aren't arrogant, but you are no longer terrified of being let go without notice. You know you could survive for 2 full years without a job if needed. That quiet confidence changes how you speak, how you negotiate, and how you carry yourself. You stop saying yes to unpaid overtime and start setting clear professional boundaries. Now here's where it gets interesting. Can you guess what happens next? Most people at $100,000 make their biggest financial mistake right here. They start buying the lifestyle of a rich person before they actually own assets. They lease luxury vehicles, rent high-rise apartments, and reset their compound clock back to zero. John doesn't make that mistake. John stays in his comfortable 2-bedroom apartment, keeps his recurring expenses locked at $3,400, and lets compounding work. By the time John hits 38 years old, his investment portfolio crosses $250,000. At this milestone, compounding outpaces his personal savings rate. In a good market year, his returns generate $25,000 to $30,000. He is no longer carrying the rock up the hill alone. It rolls on its own. The psychological burden of constant financial anxiety melts away completely. It is replaced by a deep, quiet focus on long-term wealth preservation and growth. At $250,000, your social circle starts to fracture silently. Your friends notice you don't complain about inflation or grocery prices anymore. When they complain about high credit card bills or car payments, you listen empathetically, but you can no longer truly relate to living on the edge of debt. You see the invisible chains of consumer debt wrapped around their shoulders every day. You wear plain gray t-shirts, drive your reliable vehicle, and keep your wealth secret. The march from $250,000 to $500,000 feels surprisingly fast. That is the magic of compound interest that no school textbook ever adequately explains. The first $100,000 is a brutal, manual slog paid for entirely with sweat. The next $400,000 is built largely by the market working while you sleep. When John's net worth reaches $500,000, he experiences a strange phenomenon. He discovers the powerful illusion and real security of option value. $500,000 isn't enough to retire forever at age 40 just yet, but it is enough to completely transform your relationship with work and career stress. At $500,000, work becomes entirely optional on a long timeline. You can take a 6-month sabbatical without sweating or stressing your budget. You can pivot to a lower-paying, lower-stress career without downgrading your lifestyle. You can walk away from a toxic boss on Monday morning with zero panic in your chest. The power of Coast Fire unlocks completely for your financial future right now. Even if John never adds another dollar, his money compounds to millions by retirement age. He has bought his ultimate freedom even if he hasn't checked out of work. Compare that to someone who did it differently with the exact same salary level. Same income, same career timeline, but completely different results due to lifestyle creep. Every pay raise they earned was immediately swallowed by higher living expenses. They live in a bigger house with higher property taxes and drive leased cars. On paper, they look wealthy to neighbors, but they live one paycheck from collapse. True net worth isn't what you spend, it's what you keep and control tightly. John hits $1 million on a random Thursday afternoon in mid-October. He opens his phone while waiting in line for a regular drip coffee. He refreshes his spreadsheet and sees 7 digits staring back at him clearly. $1 million. There are no fireworks or popping champagne corks in the middle of the shop. The barista hands him his medium coffee, and John walks back to his car in the rain. Becoming a millionaire doesn't change the flavor of your coffee or your morning commute, but it permanently alters how the world's financial systems interact with you. How banks treat you when you have $1 million is night and day. Suddenly, you aren't paying fees, banks compete to give you dedicated private client officers. When you apply for a mortgage on real estate, underwriters approve applications in days. Wealth attracts favorable treatment from institutions designed to protect capital for the rich. At $1 million, the baseline math of life shifts to tax optimization. Your investments generate $40,000 to $50,000 a year in passive dividends alone. You realize that your labor is no longer your primary source of income stream. Your capital is doing the heavy lifting while you focus on high-level decisions. You stop measuring your life in hourly rates and start measuring in capital returns. You prioritize tax efficiency, peace of mind, and long-term asset security above all else. The next milestone comes faster than expected as compounding hits its exponential curve. John's net worth climbs steadily toward $2.5 million over time. At $2.5 million, you enter the realm of true financial independence. Using the conservative 4% rule, your portfolio safely generates $100,000 annually. It produces reliable income endlessly without ever touching or depleting your core principle. You have detached your personal survival from your physical labor and time permanently. Your life at $2.5 million is marked by an abundance of time. You wake up naturally without relying on a loud alarm clock every morning. You eat lunch with your spouse without glancing at your phone for work emails. You spend afternoons reading, exercising, building projects, or mentoring younger family members. Yet, from the outside world looking in, nobody suspects a single thing about you. John still lives in a tasteful, modest home and drives a non-flashy 5-year-old vehicle. He dresses in clean, simple clothes and lives without needing outside validation or approval. The real luxury isn't expensive sports cars, it's ownership of every hour you live. Most people think moving from 2.5 to 5 million changes everything dramatically, but at $5 million, the transformation is much more subtle and deep. Your money generates $200,000 a year in passive cash flow easily. You can no longer spend all your investment income through normal living expenses. Your focus shifts entirely from accumulating more wealth to generational legacy building. You concentrate on estate planning, family protection, and impactful charitable giving options. At $5 million, how people treat you becomes something you manage carefully. Family members who viewed you as a quiet cousin catch hints of your stability. You learn the art of setting firm, loving boundaries around money with relatives. You find discreet ways to help those who truly need it without creating entitlement. You can pay off a niece's college tuition anonymously or establish family trusts. You realize $5 million isn't for buying luxury, but shielding people you love. You protect your family from the harsh economic storms of the modern world. When you stand at $5 million and look back, you realize something profound. The money was never the ultimate goal of your long financial journey. The digits on the screen were just points in a game of personal discipline. The real transformation happened inside your mind at every level along the way. You learned to value quiet freedom over loud status and temporary consumer hype. You prioritized long-term patience over instant gratification and flashy lifestyle displays every single day. You chose true asset ownership over temporary status symbols that drain your future. You learned to walk quietly through a noisy world that constantly demands your attention. You built your wealth brick by brick, dollar by dollar, without needing applause. Every raise you received went straight into assets rather than upgrading your living quarters. You understood that independence is worth far more than any luxury item in existence. The quiet discipline you developed at $10,000 stayed with you at $5 million. You never lost sight of the peace that comes from complete financial control. You watched others chase temporary trends while you quietly stuck to your core strategy. You bought time and autonomy while everyone else bought liability after liability. Now, your daily schedule belongs entirely to you, free from corporate demands or stress. You decide when to work, when to rest, and how to spend your energy. You can travel without checking vacation balances or asking permission from a supervisor. You can support causes you care about without worrying about your own financial future. Your mind is quiet because your foundation is unshakable against economic volatility or crisis. Inflation, market drops, and corporate layoffs no longer hold any power over you. You have constructed a life of total freedom behind an unassuming, simple exterior appearance. You don't need anyone to know how much money sits in your accounts. The quiet confidence of true wealth speaks far louder than any expensive watch could. You walk into any room with complete peace, knowing you own your destination. You spend quality mornings preparing breakfast without rushing out the door in traffic. You take long walks in the afternoon, appreciating the simple things life has offered. You invest time in your health, your personal relationships, and your mental well-being daily. You have replaced constant hustle with deep, meaningful presence in every single moment. The stress that once dominated your 20s and 30s has vanished into history completely. You are in total control of your calendar, your choices, and your life's path. Your legacy isn't just the capital you leave behind, but the mindset you modeled. You showed that quiet consistency beats short-term flashy moves every single time without exception. You proved to yourself that true success is measured by peace, freedom, and self-mastery. You built an enduring foundation that will protect your family for generations to come. You didn't fall into the traps of societal expectation or lifestyle inflation pressure. You walked your own path with steady focus, ignoring the noise of the crowd. Now, every dollar you own works tirelessly for you while you enjoy your life. Your wealth is an invisible shield, protecting your time, health, and loved ones daily. You sit at your kitchen table on another rainy Tuesday morning years after starting out. The coffee tastes richer, the quiet feels deeper, and the future is completely secure. You look at your old journal entries from when $10,000 felt impossible to save. You smile quietly at how far patience and steady discipline have carried your life. You realized early that financial freedom isn't about buying things, but buying back time. You bought back every single day of your life, from morning until nightfall. No boss can call you, no emergency can break you, and no debt controls you. You live in total harmony with your values, surrounded by peace and quiet security. You pass on these silent principles to the next generation, teaching them true value. You teach them that money is a tool for freedom, not a scorecard for vanity. They see your calm demeanor and learn that real strength doesn't need to shout. You leave a legacy of wisdom alongside the financial assets you built over decades. Looking out the window, you see people rushing to jobs they hate to buy things. You feel deep gratitude for the choices you made when it mattered most years ago. You chose the hard path early so the rest of your life could be easy. You chose sacrifice when you were young so you could own your destiny later. The quiet fortress you constructed stands firm against whatever the future may bring next. You are completely free, completely secure, and entirely in control of your own story. You don't need status symbols or public recognition to validate the life you built. The freedom to spend your time exactly as you choose is the highest reward. You built a $5 million empire in silence, step by step, dollar by dollar. You proved that quiet discipline will always triumph over short-term financial noise. You stand at the peak of your financial journey with complete peace of mind. You built a $5 million empire in silence, and nobody passing you on the street will ever suspect a thing.